Team number two in the 10 and 20-minute NFL team series, the State of the Union for the Miami Dolphins. Just finished the Buffalo Bills. Divisional rival Miami had the lead last year when we talked about possibly getting a number 2 seed, even competing for a number 1 seed. Then injuries hit. Miami didn't play as well down the stretch, and they were exhausted, deflated, and they entered the playoffs in really poor mental state, and everything disappeared. So what was a pretty good season with Tua staying completely healthy all year long, that was one of the worries at this time a year ago. Tua stays healthy, but the team probably feels disappointed and dejected that it didn't go further. Looking back, I think it was a fine season for them. Their stat sheet was really good, except for one area. Their pass deep percentage was disappointing. Free agency, we just had free agency. It was a bit of a net gain. So I think Miami definitely improved just a little bit in terms of where they are in the possible improvement motive. And I can say this, the one redeeming factor is that they don't have the first place schedule like Buffalo. It's still going to be a tough schedule, but by virtue of finishing second, Buffalo will have a tougher schedule. So let's get into it. The 10-minute Miami Dolphin preview starts with what are their needs? What's the draft needs for them? Let's put it up on the board. Miami Dolphins, their needs. Offensive linemen, they still need to protect Tua. They're still, in my opinion, 2 offensive linemen short. Defensive tackle, I think they lost a little bit of ground in terms of defensive tackle. Just like Buffalo, they lost a few people in the offseason, and they need to replenish there. And nickelback, it goes back to what I was saying, not just through injuries. And they did have injuries mostly up front, but also in the back end. They just need to clamp down and play a little bit better in terms of their pass defense. So that's where we were in terms of before the draft. So how did they do in the draft? They took edge rusher Chop Robinson. He was the 4th best edge rusher. The other 3 had already come off the board. So when it was Miami's turn, they wanted to go edge rusher. It was not the way that I would have gone at this particular point. To be honest, I would have gone with offensive linemen. At this particular point, there were 9 offensive linemen that I rated as first round grades. There were 2 or 3 that were still left at pick 21. So I wouldn't have done this particular move. Now, they did come back and get a very huge offensive tackle, Patrick Paul, out of the University of Houston. He was properly rated. He was, in my opinion, a second round talent, and he was picked right in the second round. So I have no problem with that. Interestingly enough, Chop Robinson had one of the fastest times as an edge rusher, combined times, and he's very fast. And we know Miami is built for speed, and more speed. And they doubled down on that. Actually, they tripled down on that if you look at it, because Colorado State edge rusher in the 5th round is one of the fastest people that came out of the combine on the defensive side of the ball. He's raw right now. He's a one-trick pony. He's going to get to the pass rush. He's going to get to the quarterback. Miami did a fine job of getting to the quarterback last year. That wasn't a problem, but they still doubled down on it again this year. I think the reason being is twofold. Number one, they want to build like a lot of teams from the inside on out. And number 2, they do have 2 edge rushers that are coming off injury, one that won't be ready at the start of the season. Kamara's fast. Jalen Wright, the running back, extremely fast. I think by 2025, you're going to see a completely new running back room. You may even see it right away with Jeff Wilson, may not make the roster this year, and Mostard, who's also fast, but he's now entering the wrong side of 30, which is a danger zone for running backs. I think Miami has the running back tandem of the future with what they did last year and this year, and they decided to trade up for Jalen Wright to add speed. Basically, Miami is saying, instead of fixing our needs head on, we're going to force opponents to react to what we do well. And what we do well is we're very fast offensively and we're very fast defensively. Now, with that said, the 2 Washington wide receivers, one of them is more of a guy who runs a very good route pattern, and he's not fast, but he was very productive in college, the Virginia guy. And the USC guy, USC had a variety of wide receivers last year. So it's possible that there's upside to Taj Washington because they spread the wealth around at USC. So maybe he fills the need, or Malik Washington fills the need that I had. It's not listed on this page because it's not one of my top needs, but I did want to see them upgrade at number 3 wide receiver, at least provide competition at number 3 wide receiver behind Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Obviously, those are all worldwide receivers. And I think they have upgraded in one of their lower needs in terms of number 3 wide receiver. The California safety, he's not ready right now. He may be tried at nickel. This is kind of like what I said with Buffalo. They drafted some guys who are going to be more developmental types. He's not quite ready yet. So if you look back at what Miami accomplished, I'm not sure they accomplished what I would have done in terms of guard against the run, get that powerful block occupier defensive tackle. I don't think they did that. Nickelback, I think they waited too long, and I don't even know Patrick McMorris is going to fill that nickelback role. So I would say they didn't do that. And they did get one offensive lineman. I think Paul is a very worthwhile pick, but I would have gone back and doubled up on this. I would have taken an offensive tackle later on. So they got faster. They're going to get to the quarterback. They're still going to have weaknesses. That's my assessment of the draft at this particular point. Now we're going to go on, and the back half of this very quick 10-minute State of the Union for Miami, divisional outlook, season win outlook, and then my final thoughts. So as far as the divisional outlook goes, I show them at FanDuel at plus 200 is the best odds you can get. Now, if you think it's a 3-horse race between Miami, Buffalo, and the Jets, and you think they're all equal, then the proper odds would be plus 200, or you would get back 200 for every 100 that you wagered. So you'd win 200 one of the times, but if Miami won one of the times, the Jets won one of the times, and then Buffalo won one of the times, you basically break even. So if you're of the opinion that it's a 3-horse race and they're all neck and neck, then there's no value at plus 200. My opinion hasn't changed from last year on Miami. When they're good, they're very, very good, and they can beat anybody on their schedule, even though we know that they didn't have a great record against playoff teams last year. But when they're bad, or in the case of if Buffalo has improved, or in the case of if there are injuries to Tua or anything goes wrong with Miami, they're going to be the 3rd best of the 3. So I would not recommend going with divisional odds in this case. Now, their season win odds opened at 10.5. Now, that was too high. It was juiced to the under. You would have had to lay at least 140 at 10.5. It's settled down with actually more 9.5s than anything else. And there are a couple of 10s. And I did speculate by going under 10 at this particular point. Why did I do that? Because as you will see later on, I think the division, the Jets are going to be tougher. I think Miami's schedule, now that it's laid out, still presents some challenges. And I don't think they're healthy enough to start the season defensively. They're going to go through growing pains with that pass defensive percentage, and they're going to have to be hitting on all cylinders. And certainly they can at running back, at wide receiver, and at quarterback with Tua. I just think asking them to beat me by winning 11 games is a little rich right now until we see exactly improvement defensively. So let's go back to the slides one more time and talk about my final thoughts before we close this up. The draft was a bit light in the trenches to me. The offensive line could have used one more body. The bulk of the defense right in the interior defensive tackle could have used a play. So that's my first takeaway. My second takeaway is the late season injuries haven't healed yet. We'll watch this develop in September and in August with the preseason, and we'll get a better feel as to where they are. And if I have to pivot and do some in-season adjustments, I will do that. But right now, I don't see them as at full strength in a couple of areas defensively. Their closing schedule is tough. I don't have it right in front of me. I can get that real quickly. Their closing schedule, last 4 games, for example, at Houston, home to the 49ers, at Cleveland, at the Jets. These are all very good teams, 3 of them on the road, possibly cold weather. I don't like the Miami Dolphins closing schedule. Third new defensive coordinator in as many years. They had Vic Fangio for 1 year. He went on to Philadelphia, and now they have another one, another adjustment period. My early key, starters must stay healthy. It's what I said last year. This team, because they had 4 draft picks in 2022 and 4 draft picks in 2023, that's not enough. And only one of those 8 picks has really stuck around and contributed on the roster. If you hit 1 pick in 2 years, that's not good. So team depth is lacking. That's why I say this team absolutely has to stay healthy. Ceiling is good. Floor worries me. That's why I'm a little bit bearish on the Miami Dolphins. Next up, we're going to be talking about the New England Patriots. They don't get 10 minutes. They get 20 minutes. My friend out on the East Coast, Jeff Dawson, who knows all about the New England Patriots, he's going to be on tomorrow noon Pacific time. And you can listen to the State of the Union for the rebuilding, perhaps, New England Patriots. Thanks for watching this 10-minute preview on the Miami Dolphins. You can follow me. You can ask questions. I'll comment on them. Subscribe to my YouTube page. I've done now Miami and Buffalo, and New England will be up next tomorrow. I will see you then with the New England Patriots.